I'm Mike Thiess. I'm a builder, and I'm going to teach you how to do your own self-built.
Due diligence. You can find us on YouTube at the StephyJ channel. You can also find my wife, the music artist, StephyJ, anywhere music is streaming. So what is due diligence? In school, it's much like doing your homework and studying and preparing for that final exam. In real estate development, whether it's commercial, industrial, or residential, it's the research and planning to ensure your project can be built to perform. I'm purposing to break down due diligence into 5 main categories. We're going to research land. We're going to research zoning ordinances. We're going to research permit and design requirements. We're going to research utilities and access to property. We're also going to research budgets in both time and money. So as we get into this first category of researching the land, obviously you're going to be out there surveying the market for available properties. You're going to come across one that you love and that you're interested in, right? So you need to do the due diligence. You need to study and research and make sure it's a good piece of property. So where do you start? Check the title deed. You want to make sure who's got ownership rights and that there are no legal disputes. You can employ the use of a title company or real estate attorney to help you in those endeavors. You want to obtain some land surveys to confirm land boundaries. Again, you can refer to an engineer or a land surveyor, or as in green, you can go to the county auditor's webpage and do it yourself. So I put it in green, indicating save yourself some money and do it yourself. Next, you're going to want to obtain other land records, such as easements, covenants, and restrictions, which may further encumber the land. Again, refer to the help of a title company or real estate attorney, but again, do it yourself, save yourself some time and money, and go to the county recorder's office or a web page and spend the time researching it yourself. Now, if you really want to get into the weeds, if you have some concerns about environmental concerns, hazardous materials, things of that nature, you can do what's called an environmental site assessment, and you break it into 2 phases. A phase 1, which is a desk assessment, where a company will do internet searching and come back with reports to indicate whether there are any recognized environmental concerns or not. If there are recognized environmental concerns, then you need to go into a phase 2, which will actually test and sample and verify conditions of said property. Again, you'll want to enlist the help of an industrial hygienist, a real estate attorney, or a geotechnical engineer can usually point you in the right direction. And lastly, you may need to do some soil testing to verify your soil properties, basically for 2 purposes. One, for suitability for building, make sure that the building can withstand, the structural can sit on the dirt. And 2, to make sure that you have proper drainage if you're going to have to do an on-site septic drainage system. That's typically called a PERC, P-E-R-C test. And you would engage a geotechnical engineer or potentially a civil engineer. The second category for due diligence is researching zoning ordinances. So here we need to verify our proper zoning requirements. And how do you do that? And what is the point? So you can define the shape of your box in which you can build, right? You got this big piece of property, but on the property, it's going to be a smaller box where you can actually legally build. You can enlist the help of a title company, a real estate attorney, or again, take it on yourself. Go to the county auditor's page, go to the township zoning department, and do your own research. When you're there on the websites, you're going to be looking for property identification information. So again, you're on the county auditor's webpage, you're going to do a property search. You're going to want to obtain the property ID or PIN number, also sometimes called a parcel number. And you're going to want to record the property address and the current property owner's name. Again, all these things can help you with the property search. And then you're going to want to obtain property use information. So you're going to go to, in my case, the local township zoning department webpage. You're going to find their township zoning map. And from there, you'll be able to classify, your zoning of your property. And then once you have that, you open up the 200-page ordinance of regulations. And again, to help define that box in which you can build. In there, you'll find and be able to verify any minimum lot sizes, any minimum building setbacks from front, side, or rear properties. And you'll also be able to verify the maximum building height that you're allowed. So moving quickly into the third category is researching permits and design. You're going to want to generate a full list of required permits. Typically, you call the local agencies, government agencies, whether it's county or township, to get those requirements, which also can be listed on the website. But I usually do the website and make a phone call. And you're typically going to have these three. You're going to have a zoning, septic if you're doing on-site sewage treatment from the health department, and then you're going to have a building permit from the building department. There could be other permits you got to get into, such as an LDP, which stands for land disturbance permit, that allows you to push the dirt around. You may have an ESC, which is an erosion and sediment control permit, which is basically tied to the LDP. So you push the dirt, but now you got to maintain erosion. You could end up with retaining walls, and if you do over a certain height, typically 4 feet, counties will require a separate permit. There could be other permits, such as boiler permits or mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, which you will have these, but these are usually handled by the subcontractor performing that work and are quickly, easily issued subsequent following after the building permit. So whether you're, in person at the permit office, you're online, you're talking on the phone, you want to somehow or another gather some of these forms. You can need an application. You want to get a submittal checklist to help you identify what you will be providing to them, what they require. You want to get their fee schedule so you know what sort of fees you're going to be paying. You want to ask about the timeliness of their review and what to expect. And then nowadays, with everything being online, typically permit agencies are all moving to online permit portal access. So you register for an account, pretty easy to set up. And then you have the ability to apply and pass back and forth information, drawings, review letters, things of that nature. I put a little blurb in here about understanding building codes, but really this is a pretty big daunting task. I think this is better delegated to your professional architect, engineer, or potentially a draftsman who specializes in residential buildings. Because here in Ohio, you don't actually need an architect engineer to stamp your building design. You can actually have a draftsman do that. But those folks who are putting together your drawings will be aware of your codes, your building codes. I think the best thing for you to be aware of is what are those building codes. Sometimes the code changes. I think whether it's 2018, 2021, 2025, they're updating them. So you need to understand where you're at, and that way you can make sure that your mechanical, electrical, plumbing guys are also following suit with the same permit requirements. Moving into the fourth category for due diligence is utilities and access into the site. If you don't have a driveway, that would be the access, and so sometimes there's access permits. But utilities being the bigger one, because you're going to need to have water, sewer, gas, and electric, right? Those are the big four, but don't forget about some of the other peripheral utility and or service providers for telecommunications, waste and recycling, postal and parcel deliveries. And you can reach out to each and every one of these utility providers, service providers, and get what we call a will serve letter, asking them to guarantee that they will serve your property. That way you don't find yourself on a piece of land that can't be serviced. And then very similar to the permitting process, the utility process is very similar, where you're going to have to make some sort of application. You're going to have provide them with some sort of submittal, whether it's drawings, loads for electric. You're going to have to pay some fees. You want to understand their timeline, and sometimes they too have online permit portal access. And then the fifth category, the fifth and final, is researching budgets in both time and money. So I like to assemble my financial budget into three main categories: land purchase, soft cost, and hard cost. The land is obvious. The soft cost is a little more forgotten about, but it's the design, the permits, utility service connection fees, your insurances, your interest, things of that nature. Whereas your hard costs are the tangible things, your construction materials, your labor, your equipment, your subcontractors. And I like to organize my budget using the CSI Division 1 through 32, Construction Specification Institute Divisions 1 through 32 to help ensure nothing's left out. So here's a quick listing, 1 through 26. These are typically the standard ones every construction project's going to have. And this is standard across all facets of construction, whether it's residential, retail, industrial, commercial, whatever, right? This is a standard that's adopted. So again, Division 1 being general requirements, general conditions, Division 2, Division 3, 4, on and on and on and on, right? You can read them here. But this is something very beneficial in helping you stay organized, but also beneficial in communicating confidence to others who are listening, who you're talking with, who you're coordinating with. If they see you're using the CSI master format, they're going to know you know what you're talking about. And then lastly, assembling a timeline budget, your schedule, your roadmap for coordinating all your subcontractors and vendors. And typically when I am procuring my pricing proposals from subcontractors and negotiating contracts, I'm enlisting their buy-in for durations and sequences that I build my schedule to. So I get complete buy-in and I don't have to force feed them. And then communication frequently, regularly, almost to the point of over communicating. If I'm 38 days out with a subcontractor, I'm calling him saying, hey, reminder, you're about 30 days out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out. Hey, you're here tomorrow. Hey, you're on site today. What's going on tomorrow? And it's constantly prepping them so that they feel the weight of the world and the intensity of the project, and so that you move swiftly. So here we go. Due diligence. Let's put it all together. Let's take a little bit deeper dive into each one of these. We quickly glossed over some of these headings, but let's get a little bit deeper into each one of them. So researching the land. Here I went to the county auditor's webpage. I did a property search. You can do a search by address, owner, parcel ID. You can actually go to the map and select a point. Here it pulls up the profile, gives you the address, gives you the classification, residential, on and on and on. Just basic profile information. They also have pictometry as a heading. And so this county auditor actually had this drop-down menu for dates, and they had many. There might have been 20 different aerial photos over a 30-year span, 50-year span. I forget what it was, but it was very interesting to see how the land has developed, how it's matured. Early on, this forest here, this woodland area was very sparse and not mature. Now it's 30-foot trees and very mature. There's also this drop-down menu here, this toolbar where you can add in different layers, different lines. So like I added in this red line, which is the property boundary. I added in some of these high-level contours. Again, this might be like a 900-foot elevation here in blue. This probably is like a 910 in white. And so it's just very helpful in understanding the land. Then in that same property search, I went to the tax map. And here, again, they have a measurement tool where you can actually do an area figure calculation. You can do dimensioning. Again, they have a contents toolbar here where you can add in layers. Like here, if I click contours, it would give me 1 foot incremental contour elevations of the land. So you know how it's rolling, where it's shaping, how it's draining. Very beneficial. Here they have a category for surveys. And for this property, there were 1, 2, 3 surveys that were tied to the property. It might have been like a 1970, a 1980, a 1990. I forget what exactly were, but they were there. And this is one of those that I pulled down, highlighted the perimeter, the property line in green. Later on, subsequent survey, this piece of property actually was transferred over to this lot 132. So that's kind of why you see it kind of trailing off the property line. But here I kind of zoomed in a little bit closer to give you a little bit more base knowledge about what you're actually reading. So you're seeing some dimensioning of 165 feet and coordinate degrees, north 83 degrees, west. And so you got this property line in this dark black, and you're finding that when this survey was done, this surveyor had basically two different types of iron pins. This is an pin, iron pin. So he found an existing iron pin here, and he set an iron pin here. So this is actually a video of me out at the site, basically knowing generally where the property line was running down the center of this road, and also knowing that the edge property line was probably along this fence line. So I'm pacing off about 8.5 steps to get me to about 25 feet. I went and bought a $2 kids metal detector, from a local supply store, and I'm turning it on, and I'm gonna along the fence line at about the 25-foot mark. I'm looking for that pin, that iron pin. Boop, 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 boop. It's beeping right now. It's telling me there is metal underground right here. So now I set that aside. I turn it off. I get my little shovel, my little, tools to kind of do a little hand excavating, see if I can locate this. I'm raking away some of the debris. Nothing there is catching my eye. I actually had to do a second video. So here I'm digging. And what do we find? An iron pin with a pink flag around it. So there it is. There's that pin that was set by that surveyor. So we keep moving on to the next, so back to this this aerial. There's that 25-foot dimension, and there's that steel pin that I metal detected and found, located 25 feet off that property line. I ended up finding other property pins all along at most of the points using the same method. Moving back into researching of zoning, let's take a little bit deeper dive there. Here, referring to that zoning map from the township. I went on the website, found their map. Then I located my street and road and my property, and somewhere in this mess of color is where we're at, and it's colored this light pink, entitled RLD, residential low density. So okay, so now I know I'm residential low density. So I go to the zoning ordinance, or the zoning resolution, which is also found at the township zoning department. And I'm in the table of contents, and I'm looking for RLD, and there it is, Article 8, RLD Residential Low Density District. So then I move back a couple hundred pages into Article 8, and I'm looking for very specific information. And it tells me in Section 8.2 that I'm permitted for residential uses to have a single family dwelling. So that's exactly what we want to build. Then I'm in Section 8.5 talking about lot development standards, and I see that I have to have a minimum lot of 2 acres. Well, I know we're larger than that, so we're fine. We got to have a minimum lot width of 200 feet. We're greater than that, so we're fine. We got to have these minimum setbacks from the front, side, and rear of 75, 30, and 45, and we got to have a maximum building height of no more than 35 feet. So I take that information, I bring it back to this aerial map, and I start scaling in the dimensions, right? I'm 75 feet from the front property line, 25, 50, 75. I'm 30 feet from the sides, and I'm 45 from the back. So what does that do? That helps me define the box in which I can legally build, right? So these are my setback lines all the way around the entire property. But do I want to build anywhere within here? No, I don't want to have to tear down trees or dam up, deal with a creek. I want to try to find the most economical place to position a house, which for us was up here in this lower right-hand corner of the property, where it was pretty flat and not encumbered with any trees or creeks or things. It's pretty much just pull the topsoil out and start building. So moving right along back into category 3, researching of permits. Here I am showing you that I reached out to the county and had a conversation with them and got them to show me where the checklist was for the application. And on the checklist, I see I have 7 things I need to be worried about. I got to have construction drawings. I got to have the application completely filled out. I got to pay a fee. I got to do this. I got to do that, yada, 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 yada. And they actually, in category B, they go on to tell me who's going to be reviewing it. Which agencies from the county are going to be reviewing it, right? So I got to be concerned about these folks looking at my permit drawings. And tidbit here, I actually submitted for permit and got rejected because of my site plan. So here, I failed to diligently do what I needed to do to understand the civil piece, the site civil. I had previous experience, and I had a friend who had previous experience in this county just a few years back where they were not required to have certified, or excuse me, engineer stamped drawings, but now they are actually requiring the site civil drawings to be stamped. So I basically lost a couple thousand, spent an extra couple $1,000 and probably a couple months of time trying to engage and get that resubmitted. So next, I got the fee schedule from the county, and it's very basic, right? They're going to tell you what the fees are, and if you mess up, they're going to tell you. But I think it's good to know because sometimes they mess up. So it's keeping both parties in the know. And then here's the application. So again, just a screenshot to give you, an indication that they're just going to be asking for some base knowledge about who you are, where the property is, what you're building, blah, 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 yada, yada. So moving right along into the 4th category, utilities. Here, I got a screenshot of a note app from my phone where I reached out to the electric utility Duke Energy and talked with Savannah back in April. And we talked about, how the house was existing, it was demolished. And so the property already has an existing underground service and transformer out there. So what do I need to do? So she got me in contact with the local area rep for Duke Energy, a guy named Nate. We met back in April, and then we met again in September. We talked about a couple different things. We talked about permanent services, whether I wanted a 200 amp or a 300 or 400 amp. I opted for the little bit larger service. So I know I got to put one 4-inch conduit from the transformer to the building where the meter is going to land, and it has to be 30 inches deep. It also has to be a maximum distance of 200 lineal feet from that transformer to that meter box on the house. And there can only be one elbow or 190-degree turn. So again, this is just further information to help me confirm where the house is, how the utilities are going to be run to the building. And then we also spent some time talking about temporary service, right, for construction. So I opted to not go with a Duke-owned service, but with a customer-owned temporary service because I can get a little bit larger service to help power my travel trailer that will second as a construction office. Here you can see again, because the existing property had a house that was already built on it and demolished, there was already water service out there. And in fact, they left the meter in the meter crock, which I'm surprised, but either way, I reached out to Western Water, had a conversation, confirmed I don't have any tap fees, no reconnection fees, no membership fees. It's an existing 5/8 inch meter. And they gave me a little more base knowledge about what I'm going to need to do to reconnect to that and what I need to do as far as putting valves in the house, right? I'm going to have a shut-off valve. I'm going to have a dual check valve. And I'm going to have a pressure regulator. And this is kind of basic information that even a plumber is going to know. But again, it's good information to have. And so back into the 5th and final category, researching budgets and for time and money. So what I have here is basically a summary of my construction budget in the form of a draw schedule. So this is a screenshot from my Excel file where I have a detailed tab budget. I have a draw schedule forecast that the bank wanted me to forecast my expenditures through the life of the project. And then I have a blank draw schedule template ready to go for when we actually start drawing. So here you see I got my divisions 1 through 32. I got my items identified as general, site, concrete, masonry, and then I got a little more finer information about what's included in the concrete. I got foundations, I got a slab, I got exterior flat work. And so then after that, I got the budget amount and I got a budget revision column because there are going to be revisions no matter, in my opinion, my experience. You start with a budget, but you're going to have an overrun, you're going to have some savings, and so you're going to want to repurpose that money. So this is an opportunity to reallocate budget dollars from one line to another and kind of have an audit accounting trail to keep it on the up and up. And so you end up with a current budget that you're working from. And after that, I got it, draw 1, 2, 3. So all these different draws where you're actually pulling money out from the bank and paying your vendors. It's subtotals, and then it leaves you a balance remaining. So pretty basic spreadsheet. And then I think, I got a screenshot. This is taken from the actual detailed budget, and it's just Division 1. So you can kind of see how I set up my detailed budget. I have Division 1. I have a subheading within that Division 1, which is called 1.01, which is general. And I got different things. I got design, I got permits, I got temporary facilities, I got temporary utilities, I got yada, 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 right? And then I got all these little columns here for quantity takeoff. So I got quantities, I got length, I got width, square feet, I got depth. That way I compute volumes and cubic feet and cubic yards and tonnage. And then I have the ability to take those quantities, apply unit costing, and come up with costing for both material and subcontractors and also equipment and also labor, and another category for other, because there are sometimes, like in general, where it just doesn't fit in any of these other categories. And then that all kind of subtotals in this line here and grand totals in the blue. And so you just kind of rinse and repeat, do that through all 32 divisions or however many divisions you got set up. So I think this right here is, again, a reference to that CSI master format, concrete construction specification institute divisions. So again, 1 is general, 2 is existing conditions, 3 or site, 3 concrete, 4 masonry. So I think this is very useful. I think, again, if you have no experience and you're trying to get started with assembling, this is like building your outline. This is building a template. You follow this, put it on paper, list your divisions, and then you can actually go to the website, which I think I actually have it pulled up. Let me see if I got that pulled up. Yeah, right here. So here, I mean, let's jump into finishes. Everybody loves finishes. Inside finishes, you're going to find 9. Let's go to 9.2. 9.2, plaster and drywall. What's 9.3? Tiling. And so there's subcategories underneath all of these, right? Thin set tiling, mortar bed tiling, 9,500 ceilings, acoustical ceilings, 9,600 flooring. This could be specialty flooring, athletic flooring, masonry flooring. I've never even heard of that. Wood flooring, resilient flooring, carpets. 9.7 wall finishes. They might have carpet on the wall. Yeesh. 9.8 acoustical treatments. 9.9 painting and things of that nature. So again, this is just one example of how you can build an outline based on this numbering system. You put that on paper on a spreadsheet, and then you start filling in costing, right? So I think this is a very beneficial way to help build your budget. All right, back to it. Where'd we go? All right, so we were just talking about that. So there's your budgeting for cost. Then schedule. So here I've used Microsoft Project. So if you have Microsoft suite of applications, Microsoft Project is a scheduling program. It's like an Excel spreadsheet on crack. You basically type in your activity, you type in your duration. If you give this first one a start date and you tie all the other ones here, this column right here is predecessor. So, whoops. This is basically saying perform the due diligence and then do the purchase of the land, because activity 3 is the predecessor. Here's activity 3. So it just ties it all with this relationship logic and these arrows. So again, I've got open a live view of the Microsoft project. Right now, I kind of got it rolled up into Precon. And there's those activities we talked about. And then I have it construction broken down into site work, building shell, building facade, building interiors, and then finally occupancy. And that way you can kind of navigate where you're at within your schedule and easily find, well, where's drywall? Well, you know it's going to be in building interiors. So here we go, hang and finish drywall. Let's get out of there, get back into. So good at that, aren't we? All right, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. Again, we wanted to talk about helping you with your self-build. We wanted to focus in on due diligence. We wanted to take what is a very large subject matter, break it down into these 5 categories of land, zoning, permits, utilities, and budget. We wanted to kind of give you just a stretching of the rubber band to kind of get you thinking about some of these things. And so now that we kind of got that base knowledge out there, we're going to go back now and then we're going to do a little bit deeper dive on each one of these to take some of those examples we started glossing into and pull them out into bigger detail and give you a little bit more to chew on. So again, thank you for watching to the end. If you like what you're seeing, please see us, visit us at the YouTube Thiess Built. Give us a like, subscribe. Also, take a listen to my wife's music, artist StephyJ, anywhere streaming. Some fantastic music. So again, thank you and God bless.